Welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modis. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys, a 125-mile long chain of islands. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the Keys. Catch Outdoors, hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch Outdoors, number 138. Hello all, as I usually say, good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're tuned into the podcast, whether you're driving in your car or just sitting around the house, or maybe you're in the boat. Yeah, out on a little island, having a picnic. I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. Finally went fishing, not once, but twice this past week, so I got some observation and tips to share from Florida Bay. Yay. I'm happy. Hope you're happy about that too. It has been rough. I've said this over and over again. It has been rough. Literally. Hard to get out there on the water on some days when it's blowing 20 to 25. It still hadn't rained much, but it seems like we're on the right track. Anyway, the wind did finally die down. It now looks like summertime weather is breaking out down here in the Keys. We have, those really nice puffy white clouds up in the air, and it's looking pretty good. It's not bad at all. Better than it was. You get up in the morning and you got these really great, clouds up in the air, the puffy stuff, as I said, and low-lying. More humid, dampness on the truck and the boat, dewfall, just things that are actually making it start looking like it's turning into summer. Still having to water the plants a lot. It's been as far as rain goes, it's dry, bone dry, dust. We have a couple of bird baths in the back. One's on the ground and one's a standard bird bath, and there's always critters at the bird bath. That's how I can tell it ain't raining, because there's no puddles for them to work in. So they come to the back of the house, especially the raccoons at night. They come and get a big old sip of water. Someone will just sit in it sometimes and cool off, I guess. But anyway, so it's getting better. It's starting to look more like we're going to fall into summer now. And I am planning on some fishing trips again. This is Sunday. Got some stuff I got to do Monday, but I might go back out Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll just see. It's been beautiful in the back, and I'll get into all that in a minute, a little bit here. So I mentioned last week the new book. The PDF should be in my hands on the 20th or shortly after that. And one more proof look over, and then it's off to the printer. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's what I know about fishing the Florida Keys is the title. And I should have the title page up on Catch You Outdoors website, which is catchyoutdoors.com. Hopefully this week I'll get the page up and the price and get that started, and you will be more than welcome to order early if you want to. It's fine by me. I'm planning on getting 100 printed copies. Those will be autographed, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, it'll appear on Amazon shortly after that. Back into the recording studio I go. That's tomorrow on Monday. It's supposed to be today, Sunday, but things just got in the way again. But hopefully I'll get back in the recording studio tomorrow. That's the game plan. Billy sent me a note. My producer, I'm sorry. Get those two mixed up. It's kind of the same thing. It's writing, either way. Just one you add chords to. And hopefully we'll have the new song completed by the end of May. That's what we're shooting for. Because Billy travels off to New York to visit family and friends through the month of June. So try to get one more done before he gets out of here. Happy belated Mother's Day, because when you listen to this, it'll be belated. Today is Mother's Day. Happy birthday to my mother. Talked to her on the phone this morning. She's doing pretty good. And to all the mothers out there, we love you guys. You're good. You're the best. And man, it comes up fast, doesn't it? I can't believe it is Mother's Day already. Don't want to make moms mad, though, so that's why I say Happy Mother's Day, even though it might be belated. Let's see, some fishing stuff. Last week I mentioned that I recently got some new soft plastic lures that I wanted to try out. I'm still experimenting with the pink flavors. A lot of different pink colors out there. Both of the ones I picked up were from Z-Man, and both are, one's called the Streaks Curly Tail, and the other one is called the, I don't remember what it is now. It's some sort of paddle tail. I don't have it right here in front of me. But I got them in pink glow and coconut ice glow. The only visible difference between the two was just one was lighter than the other. Both are 4 inches in length. So I tried both, but they didn't work as expected. Yeah, so I don't think it's a lure though. It was the jig head I was using, which is also a Z-Man jig head. It was just far too heavy, which just seems weird because one thing you'll find with Z-Man soft plastics, they are full of air. Those things are amazingly buoyant, and they do not sink like most soft plastics that you throw. And that also makes them lighter, which makes them more difficult to throw for distance. So I find myself doing more close-up work with them, which becomes a problem in real clear water. You don't want to get too close to the edges, the points, and the mangrove overhangs that we fish down here because they'll see you. They'll see you coming, and it's a dilemma. I think what would be best is if I switched from a jig head to a one of the offset worm hooks that's got the weight attached to the shank. I really think that'd be a way better idea. And I may have to try that. There are many, many hooks out there like that, but I like Owner's the best. Owner hook makes they make great ones. They have wide gaps, longer shanks, things like that, and many, many different weights, all the way down to minuscule, like 1/32 of an ounce, that kind of stuff. So really, really light, all the way up to reasonably like 1/4 ounce, things like that, on the shank of the hook. And the reason I think that'll work better is the jig on these things did take it underwater, but it took it straight down. And then in shallow water and under shallow edges, you struggle to keep it out of the gook on the bottom. So you're constantly messing or fooling with it. And I don't think fish like that. I know they don't because they didn't hit it very much. And I know where I was getting bites. So when you put a shank weight on, so you've got the shank of the hook and then you've got the weight on there, what it does is it drops in more levelly, if you will, more level. Because that's kind of under the bait instead of out in front of the bait. So when you throw it in, it'll drift down nice and slow. And I think that action would have made a difference. I just didn't have those hooks with me, so I'm going to try that this coming week because I'm pretty sure the color's good. Because man, they've been hitting that pink stuff like crazy. And I've tried other colors. I did break down and get some Gulp swimming mullet, which you all know that's what I like to use, the white ones and the pink. But I got them with pink and green mixed together, kind of a chartreuse with a pink on it. I have no idea what they call those things. And I got fish on those. The jacks love those. I don't remember catching anything else on it, but I know the jacks really hammered the heck out of that. So I know the color works. It's just, and I think the reason that the Gulps are working so well is not because of the stink and the impregnated smell and all that stuff that they talk about. I really just think it's the action. They work really, really well with a 1/4 ounce or less jig head. They go down nicely. So when you do the lifts, the bump up, lift up in the air and you stop, they kind of coast down. They don't just dive for the bottom. And that makes a big difference with the curly tail on there. On the end of it, that tail is waving, and those fish, they pay attention to that. So I still got some experimenting to do. There's no doubt about that. Also started to toss in some more hard baits. Mirror lures, mostly mirror lures. I'm a big fan of mirror lure, all kinds. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't know, that's just the one. And I also experimented a little bit. Went retro back into the Ozuri lures, and most of them, like the crystal minnow one, which is my favorite, and no special color. I was trying them for the shape more than anything else, and also the lip to get them down. I was making really long cast, and what I wanted was something that I could kind of rip away from the mangroves kind of quick, then halt, and then rip again. And that usually, Mr. Snook or Mrs. Snook, whichever it may be, will typically follow that out. And when you pause and start, that's when they whack it. Unless you hit one right on the head. I mean, if you throw that lure up to the mangroves and you land right smack in front of one, they'll usually hit it too. But I've found with the Uzuris, because of the lip on the front, you can drag them out. They dive a little bit, let go. They'll float back up. Make sure you use the floating ones. They float back up, haul on it again real quick, and that's usually when the fish strikes it. Jacks will do the same thing. They'll run right smack into it. So I played with those a little bit. I didn't do it on my second trip out, but I did it on the first trip. And I caught quite a few fish with it. I even caught some nice mangrove snapper hanging off that last hook on that lure. So there's a trick you can try. Summertime's a great time to throw plastics that look like little fish, of course, because the bait starts to really move in thick into the back country, not only here, but on the west and east side of Florida. And so as the bait starts to increase, you definitely want to throw something that obviously looks like bait. Let's see. So the first trip was Wednesday of last week. I made a run up to the top of Florida Bay, up near the Glades, pretty much damn near in the Glades. Wind was out of the east to southeast, about 10, gust to 15. Water temp 81, 81.3 to be exact, if I remember right. And the breeze, when I say east for us, I know that sounds kind of like it's blowing off the like a coastal, but it's not. When you're down here in the Keys, the way Key Largo is shaped, east means it's kind of coming across what appears to be the south side of the island. Not really, because that part of the island is still facing east. So it makes a pretty nice run across Blackwater Sound. It's on your tail the whole way. So, and same thing with Little Blackwater. And then once you get up in the Glades, it doesn't matter because you're surrounded by bushes and trees and islands and things to knock the wind down. So the only time the ride's a little weird is coming home. And it was, but that's okay. The fish were very, very happy. I was happy. They probably weren't happy to see me, but I was happy to see them. Lots of variety. Snapper, snook, cudas, trout, jacks, and some other, what else? I caught a lizardfish. That was kind of weird. I haven't seen one of those back there recently. And catching the trout back there was really strange. Most of these areas, I don't run into trout. You got to get out on the open flats, get into 3 to 4 feet of water, grass bottom, and start working those. But this was back in the bushes area, and I just thought that was really weird. As a matter of fact, I made 4 casts and caught 4 different species in a row. I got a snapper, I got a cuda, I got the trout, and then a jack. Yeah, and that was neat, to say the least. The fish back there are big. There ain't a lot of babies in there. So the snapper are keeper size. The trout was beautiful. Trout was about 18, 19 inches. Snook, really decent snook. And of course the jacks. I love the jacks. They're typically 3 to 4 pounds. Sometimes you'll get all the way up 8, 9 pounds, a really big one. But it's still a nice hit, a nice struggle getting them to the boat. Fun to play them out. No tarpon on this trip. They have left, and I will figure it out. I know where they were, but they ain't back yet. I think it's a bait issue. When I was in there catching tarpon, there was also quite a bit of white bait running around, especially with finger mullet, and that really hadn't been the case. The bait's been a lot thinner. I imagine these things are eating crabs and shrimp right now. That's what it seems like is going on up there. I didn't keep any fish on Wednesday. I tossed them all back because I already had fish in the freezer. And I typically try to catch what I'm going to eat. I don't really like filling the freezer up with fish. That's not my goal. My goal is just to go fishing and have a good time with it. And after cleaning 18 gazillion fish as a guide, I'm over it. I'm just over it. Go to the fish market and get a couple of fillets for crap's sake. If it's something that like a nice big mangrove snapper, 16 inches, 18-inch mangrove, yeah, that's going home. I can't resist that. And that's a meal for Janelle and I. So, but not this time. The baits, as I mentioned, everything I used on Wednesday was primarily, I used a mix. That's right. I used the soft plastics, the gulp, swimming mullet, and then I used quite a few Uzuris, 3 different Uzuri colors, and a couple of mirror-lures. The twitch and mullet from mirror-lure that's a fantastic lure. I love that thing. And the brighter the color, the better. I started playing with reds and yellows and things like that on them instead of the lookalikes, that look like bait. I just went off the rails. Like some of them call it electric chicken. You'll see that written on packages. So I kind of went that route, and they loved it. So I'll probably do more of that, and I may get more adventurous in the soft plastics as well. Let's see, what else? Water was much clearer and cleaner than the last trips. Again, no rain, and the wind died down. A great combination. The area that I fish up in the glades up there, this is not hard bottom. There are hard bottom areas up there where you're fishing right over limestone. You can hear it when you put the power pole down. It crunches. This area that I fish is muddier. And so the water does turn over and you get color in the water. But the other day, Wednesday, was clear. I mean, you could really see pretty well, actually. So again, the far away cast worked the best. Getting up close did not. One time I got too close and watched a whole school of mangrove snapper bolt out of the bushes and run away. I'm like, damn. And some of them were nice. All the fish except the jacks were right up against the mangrove roots. That was something I did notice. So apparently they were looking for cover. Jacks almost never. Jacks just do their thing out in the open water. They attack stuff. So you watch for the blow-ups, cast it to blow up, and you pretty much get a jack. But everything else was crunched up against the bushes, even at low tide. And I'm guessing that's because of the little bitty bait, what I like to call rain bait. That little teeny stuff you can't put on a hook. They were mashed up underneath the mangroves pretty tight too. A lot of my casts, when you land close, you'll see those little fish spray away because it freaks them out. Anyway, they were crunched all the way up under there. And so to get the perfect bite, you had to get the perfect cast. You had to really hit the spot and move that bait right away, right after you hit just tiny little bumps with the tip of the rod, and kapow, it would go off. So that's how it was. The bite was very, very strong. I got up there by about 7:30, and it fished pretty well till 9:30, and then it really started to die off. So that was Wednesday. On Saturday, I was finally out to get out there on the water with my wee wife, Jonelle. Thank goodness. She hadn't hardly been in the boat. I asked her last time, she could hardly remember. Between her work and the winds blowing, she wasn't able to make some trips, and the weekends seemed to always be screwed up, and that's really the best time for her to go. But this Saturday we did it, this past Saturday, yesterday, tell you the truth. We had a great morning. We really did. Left the dock about 7 a.m., wanted to give us a little more time since I knew what had happened on the previous trip, how fast it stopped once the sun was up. We headed right straight back up where I was, where I left the bite, and it was still there. Just turned right back on. This time it was snapper, jacks, and cudas. No trout, no snook in that area. She got the first fish, though, a nice big jack. She does good. She does really good. She needs more practice, though. Poor thing's been sitting around doing next to nothing. So as far as fishing, she's been doing a lot. She hasn't been doing any fishing, though. So we got to get her out there and get her casting again and get working on it. After we caught a few fish there, I decided to move out to the outside. Up in the glades, in the back areas, that's mangrove. Water clarity's good. It was real good. But it's greenish water. It's not like being out on the flats, out on the shiny, pretty stuff. There's no way to. It's aquamarine. It's beautiful out in the front. So let's go out there. Let's make a trip out. So on the way across the flat, we had a dolphin encounter with 3 dolphins, and they decided they were going to party next to the boat in about 2 feet of water. And again, the water is really nice and clear in that area. The hard bottom is. And these dolphins were swimming. She got some great video. If you're on Facebook, go to Jonelle's Facebook page and check it out. The video's on there. It's great. She also put it up on Instagram as well. It was just one of those really cool things where the dolphins just hang with you. They weren't jumping in the surf in the bottom of the back of the boat or anything like that. They were just basically swimming back and forth as I moved at about 1 mile, 2 miles an hour. They were messing with us, and that was really, really cool. I love it when you see dolphins back there. We decided, like I said, to run out to the pretty water. in Florida Bay, and we found big snook. As a matter of fact, she hooked a whopper and lost it. Bummer. Yeah. You know how you see them? First of all, they take off. They just all muscle. And then it turned and its head popped out, and you can get one look at its head and tell. You go, whoa, that's a real fish. Great big old bucket mouth looking thing, and turned the other way and just popped off the hook. That's all there was to it. She didn't do anything wrong. It just popped off. And not much you can do about that. Snook have got tremendously hard ridges around their mouth, and if you happen to hit that one spot, there's a good chance they're going to win. And if you get it inside the mouth a little bit, they've got these nasty gill plates, and they turn right or left, up or down on you, and the gill plate starts scraping the leader. That'll pop. And I use 30-pound leader, but I've had to go right through it. And I don't want to go heavier because I think that restricts the bite. I think it slows the bite down if you go too heavy on the leader stuff. Then I got a nice one. I got a big snook. Yay, I won. I got it to the boat. This was kind of neat too. They were laid up on the sandy edges around the islands. So what you have is you got these islands, you got the mangrove roots, and this was a pretty good sized tide too. This wasn't a real low tide. I call it about a medium tide out there. This is an area where the crocodiles hang. And they nest, which they're doing this time of year. And they like to have a little sand to crawl up on where they put their eggs. And I like fishing those edges at a distance, not just because of the crocs, but of course the fish can see you. But we were making some nice long casts up onto just, I guess you'd call it like a little sandy edge, and drawing it off that edge. And that's when she got plowed by the snook, and so did I. We worked pretty hard at it for a while. That's the only two we got. Barracudas, snapper. I think that's all. And the unusual thing that I'm running into out there is I used to get trout in those areas. You used to get sea trout, especially right off of those islands on the flats if you had any kind of grass. I ain't caught one out there since last year. I don't know what's going on. They weren't there this winter. Honestly, last time I think it was probably in the fall, September, October of last year. Last time I caught trout there, and I find that highly unusual. Could be the hot water we had last summer just put them off, but it doesn't put them off. It puts the bait off, and it may have pushed the bait away. Crabs and shrimp and whitebait, things like that may have gotten pushed away. That might be why. But the snookers were there, and I was really glad to see them. This is a special note out to someone I know listens. Angie, if you're listening, it's where you caught your snook. You and Paul. It turned out to be a fantastic spot again. And I have beat that place up a number of times and not caught a single fish. And then all of a sudden I put Jonelle on the boat and bingo, they're there. So I was pretty happy to see that. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time I took Angie and Paul out in that area to go fishing, I believe it was May. It might have been May or June. So maybe things are just lining up thanks to being out there on the right month. So hopefully it'll stay that way, if you know what I mean. For those of you that are going to fish down here, come down here. Come on now. It's quiet. This is the time you want to go tarpon fishing, which I haven't done yet, but I will. I got to go further west to do tarpon. I've never had a whole lot of luck around Key Largo. There's a few spots that I know about, but they really haven't been there yet. But when you head out to Islamorada and you head out in front of those bridges or around the bridges of Islamorada, that's where you want to be right now. Between there and all the way up to Flamingo and Cape Sable, the bite has been spectacular. Reports in 5 or 6 tarpon a trip easily. And more sometimes, and the size is good. These are the 80 to 120, 125 pounders up that way. Probably the only beef I've heard about is the sharks. If you start getting hit up by the sharks, just move. If you can, just get away. They've been pretty bad, especially the hammerheads and the bulls. But I know it's frustrating. Some of you don't want to deal with that, but you may have to back off sometimes. Out on the front, people are still doing really well on yellowtail. Dolphin seems to have moved in pretty good on there's some big weed lines setting up out front now. And guys have been trolling the weed lines. And I saw a couple of posts for wahoo, really, really good wahoo bite. Nobody said where. It was like they're real careful. Oh man, dudes are catching wahoo, and then that's all you hear. Well, where? Catching wahoo. And you're like, okay, so I would have to imagine that they're trolling, and they're probably trolling the same daggone weed lines that they're looking for dolphin on, and getting those instead, or because or also, I guess is a better word. So that's good. Good to get that out there, man. That's my favorite eating fish. I gotta be honest with you. I love wahoo. I don't think there's anything much better than that. The triple tail bite's been good off of Flamingo, Cape Sable, and up in that area, just south and out west. The only problem is, they're pulling the crab pots now. That stuff, the stone crab's over. Lobster is over. Florida lobster is over. So the trap buoys go away, and that's what most guys like to search, those buoys, and they disappeared because of the end of both seasons. May was the end of which one went first? Let's see. Lobster went first, and then May's gone. May is that? Yeah. I hope I'm getting that straight. I think that's right. Anyway, there ain't none of that available right now. So it definitely removes some of the target zone that you'd use for triple tail. If you want to catch them, look for any floating thing in the water, pieces of wood, unfortunately plastic bags, but pick up the bag if you don't see one. And the stakes up in the park stakes, the channel stakes that are up in the north end of Florida Bay are also a really good area to look. People blow through there without it not even realizing that triple tail will park up against those. And any type of slow zone buoy or swim buoy things that they use for marking stuff in the back, be sure to check those. So it's not the best time to hunt for them because you don't have all the crab pot buoys and stuff like that out there, but they are there and they're big. God, I saw a picture of one that was 11 pounds, I think, the other day. Man, I mean, that's big. So hopefully that'll give you something to start on besides all the other fishing. My redfish hunt is still on. I haven't caught one. And people have caught them, so I mean, it's just me. I don't know. I got to get on that. I got to go a little further west. That's all there is to it. I'm too far east. That's my belief. I'm too far east to really get on a good number of them. Most of the reports I read are well west of here. So I'm gonna have to make the run. That's all there is to it. Just gonna have to make the run. It's funny. I used to think that redfish was difficult on the West Coast. That was one of those fish that you had to work hard to get them. I'm not gonna say it was easy, but that was easy compared to this. Of course, then again, I spent, 18, 19 years as a guide chasing redfish. So after a while, you kind of figure out the pattern. So I'm still working on that here. But the major clue comes from other captains telling me, go west, young man, go west. So that's what I have to do, I guess. And now it's time for a little bit of useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. This is lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, mostly bears. There are 7 species of bears: the American black bear, the Asian black bear, the brown bear, the polar bear, the sloth bear, the spectacled bear, and the sun bear. Okay. The Kodiak grizzly bear is the world's largest meat-eating animal living on land. The Kodiak can weigh up to 500 pounds more than any other kind of bear. It's a Kodiak-looking fella. The grizzly bear is capable of running as fast as the average horse. So your ass is grass. Man, if that sucker's chasing you, man, you're just done. You do not want to encounter grizzlies. The most carnivorous of all bears is the polar bear. Its diet consists almost entirely of seals and fish. So there you have it, everything you didn't need to know about bears, better known as useless information. And before I go, I've noticed that summer seems to have arrived well north of the Mason-Dixon line. I've seen posts from folks in shorts and t-shirts and what appears to be green grass lawns. Break out your mowers. Memorial Day's right around the corner. and then the pools open up in the north. That's always seemed a bit odd to me, but it does make sense, I guess. No one wants to swim with chunks of ice. It would just bum me if they closed the pool. It would be like, what? But that's in our climate where the pools are always open, so that's just the way it is, I guess. Y'all take care of yourselves. Have a really good week, and I'll touch base with you next Tuesday. Take care. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Facebook page is Sketch Outdoors, website sketchoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and a schedule of what's to come. Until next week, get outdoors and enjoy.